The Sinister Six make their first strike. But who are the Sinister Six? The first member throws down with Spider-Man and the Green Goblin in this action-packed issue. Plus, with Tony Stark's return, Peter must also explore the limitations of his new suit. Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 3, Issue 9. 20 years ago, the Maker prevented a radioactive spider from biting a young Peter Parker. He likewise prevented the creation of other superheroes and formed a secret council to rule the world from the shadows. 8 months ago, Tony Stark sent Peter that same radioactive spider along with a Picotech suit and warnings of the Makers Council, a shadow organization that rules the world. Since then, Peter has used the incredible powers granted by the spider's bite to fight crime alongside Green Goblin, aka Harry Osborn, the co-CEO of Oscorp. When Stark reappeared, Peter and Harry learned that he could seize control of their super suits. Meanwhile, Wilson Fisk, the kingpin of Manhattan, gathered the heads of every borough of New York to declare open season on the pair of masked vigilantes. In Uptown Manhattan, September 2024, in a bar, we pick up with J. Jonah Jameson and Ben Riley as the bartender asks if they want the bill. However, the two old men are very happy with the success of the paper, and they are celebrating. As the bartender pours them another drink, they are drinking to their success, to their victory, and this is everything they ever wanted. Just then, Mary Jane MJ comes to the door and says, "There they are, my two favorite entrepreneurs." And she tells the bartender, "I'll have whatever they're having." She then asks J. Jonah Jameson and Ben Riley, "What's with the sour looking gentlemen? Did something happen I don't know about?" The two crafty old newspaper writers are concerned about writing nonsense. J. Jonah Jameson wants to focus more on news stories and less on sensationalism, as the picture shows Spider-Man stopping crime and bank robbers with a pun that reads, "Spider-Man and friend break up a criminal ring." What an interesting is that Spider-Man is getting all the notoriety while the Green Goblin is merely known as a friend. J. Jonah Jameson says, "It's our first month of the paper being live and 8 of our top 10 stories about Spider-Man, and that's because we only have 8 Spider-Man stories." Mary Jane says, "I don't get it. People love those stories, and Pete has gotten some great pictures." Ben Riley responds, "We know, but our intention, what we want is to do a serious stories that no one is covering, stories that people are afraid to talk about instead of all this. Is this really just sensationalism?" Mary Jane says, "Well, I would call it amazing, but you two are not getting it." J. Jonah Jameson replies, "How about you explain it to us? First, you have the fastest growing online presence since, I don't know, Simon Williams." Ben Riley adds, "And how did that work out?" Mary Jane says, "Not great, but that's not the point, because two virtually overnight, and primarily because of your Spider-Man courage, you have a massive, massive new audience. The paper has a subscriber list that already numbers several hundreds of thousand readers, and it's growing like crazy every day. I showed you the projections, right?" MJ continues saying, "In the next 6 months, you two are going to be bigger than the Bugle." J. Jonah Jameson says, "Oh, I do like the sound of that." Ben Riley adds, "You bet. And thank you for all your marketing genius, MJ. We couldn't have done it without you. But there's a story we're working on and that people have to know." Mary Jane says, "Listen to me. Of course, they love the icing, but I'm betting they also love the cake. So the only thing you need to keep in mind is this, these numbers. What they mean is the devil cannot cast you out. They mean you can write whatever you want and people will see it." J. Jonah Jameson and Ben Riley love the sound of that. With all the sensationalism about Spider-Man, they now realize they can write their true articles. Mary Jane finishes by saying, "Now, do you guys want to continue this sad country song, or should we all get back to work?" Spider-Man and Green Goblin return from fighting crime and head back to Oscorp. Otto Octavia has something to show them. Otto Octavia says, "Just a little thing I like to call freedom." Otto Octavius says, "It's freedom from Stain. It's freedom from Stark for both of you. The solution's obvious. Yours is a firmware update for the suit. It's kind of simple, really. As you know, there's a carrier frequency that all Stark tech uses. This just overlays a second frequency over that individual, disrupting the Stark version, and additionally creating a new frequency for us to use, which we will modulate daily so they can't do the same thing back to us." Spider-Man also has a surprise, as Dr. Octopus says, "I've had to go a little further outside the box. Your suit remains hyper advanced and nimble, but I can't solve everything. Therefore, therefore you're going to need a new one, which I have taken the liberty of designing myself. Would you like to see it? Spider-Man replies, give me a second. The second Peter needs is to speak to the nanotech suit. As Spider-Man, Peter Parker asks the suit, so what do you think? The suit replies, well, I'm offended for you, and personally, my feelings are a little hurt. I understand why we don't want Stark to be able to track our movements, but I'm not sure I'm as worried about it as they are. Yes, we've been a little reckless, and a little bit of a caution probably isn't a terrible thing. Spider-Man asks, so what do we do with you? I bet you're a luminous credit card whose balance gets paid off every month that the good doctor tries to keep me. Spider-Man turns to Dr. Otto Octavius. Hey, if I use the new suit, what do we do with this one? Dr. Otto Octavius responds, I was thinking the best thing would be to build some kind of containment, a Faraday cage for it. That seems like the safest choice. Plus, it would give me more time to figure things out. You know, play around with it a little bit. The suit says, don't you dare leave me with him. Spider-Man says, yeah, not a chance. So what do we do? I could stay at home until things get sorted out. Worst case scenario, I'm the best home defense you could possibly have, the suit says. Then Peter Parker, Spider-Man says, I was going to say no, but Stark already knows we live there. It's where he delivered you to me, so that's a non-issue, and it solves the problem of him being able to track us while Harry and I are on missions. Me too, I guess. What's left is seeing the new suit, right? As Peter Parker says he will miss the suit and wants to see what's under the tarp, Otto Octavius lifts it. It reveals the Iron Spider. Dr. Otto Octavius says, may I present to you the Spider Armor Mark I. Yes, it's different from your current suit. It retains the full complement of many of your abilities minus camouflage. That remains beyond me. I took the liberty of optimizing your web shooters. This now runs a cartridge system, and the webbing is capable of holding an additional 5 tons of weight. Rocket launchers, concussion bombs, stun weapons, and cutting lasers are some of the new additions. This suit is also bulletproof, EMP resistant, and explosive proof, made from heavy duty titanium based alloy and selected with a flexible skin. Nothing's getting inside that isn't microscopic. Most importantly, it's connected to all our systems. You have full access to Oscorp's data files and diagnostics to ensure maximum performance. It's truly a weaponized Iron Spider, Dr. Otto Octavius concludes. So what do you think? This is clearly not Peter Parker style with bombs and guns. After thinking for a second, Peter Parker says, I think I'm good. Dr. Otto Octavius, surprised, responds, what's that mean, you're good? Spider-Man replies, it means no, man, no thanks. Otto Octavius, still confused, says, no? The Green Goblin steps in, saying, I think what he's trying to say, Otto, is thank you. And you did a very good job for us, but perhaps it's too much suit for him. Spider-Man is lithe, agile. I don't care who says otherwise. It's possible that the suit is too generalized, maybe even a tad over-designed. Spider-Man adds, cool. Whatever it is, I'll take it. As Ben and J. Jonah Jameson continue digging into the Stark-stained story, they're running. They receive more files from Robbie Robertson regarding the company's financial. This will no doubt put them at odds with Harry and the people who are actually bankrolling them, especially since Gwen and Harry are secretly their benefactors. Pete and Harry get back to work, and Peter dons his new suit, which is simply spandex suit without all the bells and whistles. Essentially a classic Spider-Man costume. It's a cool, nonchalant way to shift away from the hyper-advanced suit to a more traditional hero costume. This ups the stakes as the suit doesn't offer Peter the same protection. It's just material, meaning he has to be more cautious about who he fights and how he fights. Meanwhile, the other suit becomes more of a symbiote to someone else, potentially developing its own feelings about Peter's rejection. Harry and Peter's relationship is further explored here as Harry invites Peter and his family to join him and Gwen for a vacation over Christmas. However, Peter reminds him that Christmas is for family and he has a lot of people he needs to see and be with during that time. This moment highlights how different the two men are, how differently they grew up. Harry had only his father and mother in a sterile, wealthy environment where they didn't care much for each other, while Peter has a large, loving family. Peter struggles to understand Harry's perspective, especially when Harry reveals that Gwen has already made plans to go to the Hamptons, which is why he extended the invitation to Peter and his family. Then suddenly a warning comes into Peter's head. Peter says, you ever get that? Ever since I got my power, sometimes I get a feeling like something's bad about to happen. Peter Parker's spider senses are coming to fruition. The Green Goblin says that's because sometimes bad is always about to happen. Peter is still trying to figure out his spider sense when out of nowhere, and just as expected, a blast from the sky. It hits the Green Goblin, immobilizing him. The Green Goblin says, "Can't move, suit's locked up." Then Black Cat appears and says, "It's fascinating. We have amazing engineers building such fabulous weapons for our great game. All the other players gave that device almost no chance of working against either you, but I immediately knew it would work. It was the one for me. What can I say? I do love long odds." The first of the Sinister Six to go after the Green Goblin and Spider-Man as the Black Cat. Walter Hardy, better known as the Black Cat, is a notorious thief who seemingly retired without ever being caught. He used his acquired wealth to take control of territory in the Bronx with blessing of the Kingpin. He married Lydia Hardy and they had a daughter, Felicia. After Lydia's passing, Walter joined the Sinister Six, led by the Kingpin. He was the first of the six to attack Spider-Man and the Green Goblin, taking them completely by surprise. The same boat after all. Spider-Man quips, "You know it's not polite to start a fight without introducing yourself. Here, I'll go first. I'm Spider-Man. And you are?" The Black Cat responds, "I am a shadow in the night, a whisper of a dream, my friends. What a few I allow myself to have. Graciously call me the Velvet Blade. But my enemies, they call me the Black Cat." As the Black Cat lashes out with his whips, they slice through Spider-Man's spandex suit, a blow that wouldn't have landed if he still had his Pico suit, his symbiote. As Peter felt the whip, he warns the Black Cat, "Maybe don't do that again." The Black Cat responds, "I think you'll find, little Spider, that I will do whatever I want, whenever I want, to whoever I want." Spider-Man quips, actually not to be a stickler, but I think it's whoever and not whomever. Or wait, maybe that's backwards. Either way, why did you attack my friend? The Black Cat replies, "Actually, at the time, I wasn't aiming for him. I was aiming for you. I suppose the moral of the story is, men like me, we don't miss." As he speaks, the Black Cat sends his whips towards Spider-Man. The Black Cat doesn't miss as he knocks down a tower over Spider-Man. Spider-Man, feeling he is getting too cocky, he's definitely missing the symbiotic Pico suit. The Black Cat says the Kingpin of New York has called together all his captains to play the great game. You and the Goblin, you are both prey and prize. He then takes his whip and wraps it around Spider-Man's neck, choking him. Spider-Man is being choked by the Black Cat as the Black Cat says, "You know what you did? You caught our attention. Then you dare lay siege to Olympus. You angered the gods, and for that sin, your lives are forfeit." Spider-Man responds, "And what do you get?" The Black Cat replies, "That is none of your business." Spider-Man grabs his wrist, throws him overhead, slamming the Black Cat into the brick wall, and then shoots webbing at him. As the Black Cat is tied up in the webbing, Spider-Man congratulates Otto for thick webbing. The Black Cat says, "I suppose living is for the young, and I am but an old man. This day has been coming for some time." Spider-Man replies, "What? Go ahead, get it over with," the Black Cat says. Then the Black Cat asks, "You're going to kill me now, aren't you?" Spider-Man says, "Of course not. Don't be ridiculous." As the Green Goblin gets up off the ground, he says, "Hey, you okay in there?" As Spider-Man turns his back to the Black Cat lifts a sword, cutting through all the webbing. The Black Cat says, "I guess this must be my lucky day. But then again, aren't they all?" Just as he's about to strike Spider-Man, suddenly the Green Goblin's artificial intelligence, Norman Osborn, is rebooted, and the AI comes back online. AI Norman Osborn tells his son, "We are back online. Don't think, son, just act." As he shoots a goblin blast right at the Black Cat. The Black Cat gets blasted off the roof, falling several stories to the ground. It doesn't look good for him, but he's still moving. Spider-Man decides to call for an ambulance. Minutes later, the ambulance arrives and picks him up off the ground. Spider-Man asks, "Do you think he'll live?" Green Goblin replies, "Well, he's not dead yet." Spider-Man then says, "What the hell, Harry?" Green Goblin responds, "What do you mean? My suit had just come back online. You turned your back and he pulled out a weapon. I did what I had to do." Spider-Man says, "But I didn't feel anything," meaning his spider senses. Green Goblin replies, "He would have killed you, Peter, and not thought twice about it. I heard what he said to you about him, Fisk, and God knows whoever else making a game of hunting us. I'm afraid we're running out of time here. You need to wake up and realize who these people are and what they're willing to do." Harry Osborn says, "My parents are gone because of them. So is your aunt. And if you think they won't do the same to you, me, or our families. You're crazy. Peter responds, but Harry interrupts. I don't know what you want, Pete. I don't make the rules, but we're playing by them. Peter says, we can't be like them. We're supposed to be the heroes. We're supposed to be better than that. We have to be. Harry thinks about it and says, you need to know something, Peter. If I'm put to the choice and one of them is about to kill you, I will never hesitate. Peter Parker says, well, just so you know, you're still invited to Christmas. Harry Osborn responds, sorry, I've got plans. Still, I'll get the kids something cool. Peter Parker says, yeah? Green Goblin adds, yeah, I'm thinking something spandex. Peter Parker says, Harry, you might just be the worst best friend a guy could have. Next, Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 3, Issue 10.